Hello and welcome to my Southern Exposure. My name is Joseph Manuel Alvelo. Today is Sunday, July 12th. Welcome to our 8th week of being invited, or I should say, luckily, watched by over 5,000 viewers 2 weeks in a row. That's the biggest highlight for all of us, and we're very grateful and thankful to you for that. In addition, I want to just give you a little personal note before we pass it over to Rajee and then Mick. I have been working on gardening, landscape work, and also the continued saga of fixing the ceiling. And then now it turned into fixing the walls. So that's pretty much everything that's happening for me, trying to look at the positive side of things. So at this point, I will just say hello, Rajee. How has your week been so far?
Oh, hello. You've been a busy little bee, haven't you? Yeah, so welcome back, everyone. Hi, I hope everyone had a great week. This is going to be another spectacular show because we always have some juicy topics to talk about. And of course, I'm going to do my trans update. Let's see. Well, this week, I really tried to work on me nurturing myself and me feeling good and feeling happy. If anyone has Netflix out there, and I'm sure a lot of you do, you gotta check out Mucho Amor. I saw it yesterday. It's the Walter Mercado story. I don't know if some of you may be familiar with him, some of you may not be, but basically, he was a gender non-conforming spiritualist, very popular in the Latino community. And it was almost like this love-hate thing because he was like embraced, but then also like a bit of a pariah because of his gender non-conforming. But, the same guys that would call him faggot would, hush when he came on TV because it was like the families would gather around to hear what Walter had to say. Phenomenal story. It's only about an hour and a half to about an hour and 45 minutes. Mucho Amor. I was so touched by his journey, and I learned some things. I was surprised about something that happened to him, and I won't give it away, because I don't want to do those spoiler type things, but you definitely got to check it out. I was so inspired. This person had a big life, and they touched so many people. They actually passed away this January, if I'm not mistaken. But beautiful story. I highly recommend it. And then the other thing is, I've been listening to Little Mosey, Blueberry Fargo. Oh my God, it is. I love it. It's a cute little tune. So music has a way of lifting our spirits. So find some sort of music to like kind of make you bob and smile and have a good time. Mickey, do you know about Little Mosey?
I am kind of familiar with the name, but I am not super familiar with his music.
You gotta check him out. Check out the single Blueberry Fargo. It is so cute. I love it.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing. I just Googled him just because I was curious. I see. Yeah, Blueberry Fago, I think it is.
Fago. Yeah. Fago. Sorry, Fago. Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I totally get it.
And the video is so cute. The video's like so cute. Yeah.
For sure. No, I'll definitely check it out. But hi guys. Hope everyone is well. Hope everyone has been staying safe, going outside, wearing masks if you do go outside. Also hope that everyone's family members are okay and that people are staying healthy. I will say that in the initial beginnings of this whole pandemic, I was very lucky and very blessed to not know many people personally who have contracted COVID, but in the past month that things have been open, I have now known a lot more people who have COVID, including my sister. My sister has recently been cleared, so she's okay. She still can't smell anything though, so the symptoms do linger. And then actually a friend of ours who coincidentally enough, my roommate was actually house sitting for. It turns out when she came back from Arizona, she also now has COVID. She as well, thankfully, is okay right now. Like, she has a fever, but she's all right. So I think that right now people need to be people need to be taking this a little bit more seriously. Quite frankly, people are not. And because of that, more and more people are getting it. And so I definitely stress that people, if you have to go outside, if you have to go somewhere, you should absolutely 120% have a mask on. And if you throw a fit about it, expect to be blasted online for it, because someone's going to film you doing it and watching you look like an idiot. I've also been, just me personally, I've been trying to do a little bit more progressive organizing work on my own. I've started helping out with this organization called Power Blossoms, and they are a prison abolitionist group who their primary function is they set up pen pals and mailing lists for queer and LGBTQ people who are currently imprisoned. It's mostly here in California because our prison population is very high and that's where we're based. So we set up pen pal relationships. We send them care packages. We take surveys based on what their conditions are like in their prisons right now, which actually conditions in prisons are terrible. So if you happen to know of a local prison or facility in your area, try to see if you can maybe find out how their inmates are being treated. I know for a fact that in San Quentin prison right now, hundreds of inmates currently have tested positive for COVID, and they have them all corralled in the same spot. And apparently in this same spot, there are no flushing toilets. There is allegedly no power, and the cells are apparently very filthy. So it's gotten to the point where apparently some of these inmates are on hunger strike. So you should definitely be paying attention to stuff like that that's going on. And like I said, the organization that I'm a part of is called Power Blossoms. It's spelled exactly the way that it sounds, Power Blossoms. They're a great organization, and I have just started with them, but I'm excited to start doing a little bit more with them. And then I've also been, yesterday I did a little bit of awareness raising and walking around the city with the LA Tenants Union. And again, that organization is pretty straightforward. It's a coalition of Los Angeles-based tenants looking out for each other. And the main thing that we were trying to get across yesterday is that at the current moment in Los Angeles, there is an eviction moratorium. So if you're currently experiencing some hardship trying to pay your rent and your landlord is harassing you and threatening to kick you out, at the current moment, they cannot kick you out onto the street because of the moratorium that is in place. So if your landlord is giving you shit and threatening to evict you, for one thing, you can tell them that that's illegal right now, and if they continue to give you crap for it, I would definitely reach out to the LA Tenants Union. They're doing their best to show up at locations where landlords are threatening their residents and standing in solidarity with those renters to make sure that they're not thrown out on the street during this especially precarious time. But if you have any questions for me or for Rajee, you can reach out to us about the stuff that we're doing at Mick at mysouthernexposure.site or Rajee at mysouthernexposure.site. And also, just to bring this back to a point that Rajee brought up, but the Walter, his last name is Mercado, correct?
Mercado, yeah.
Yeah. I've actually really wanted to check out that documentary for a second, and I actually just learned that a good friend of mine actually worked on the doc. So now I'm especially excited to watch it and learn a little bit more about him, and also just support a friend.
It is fabulous. You're going to love it. I cried at the end. That's how moved I was.
I've heard it's just a really, really strong documentary, and he seems just, I feel like I've seen him just in periphery just because of how big he is in the Latinx community. But I'm excited to learn a little bit more about him and learn about just through that, just maybe a little bit more about like that side of culture that I don't know anything about. But I've talked for a while now. I'm going to pass it back over to Joseph. Joseph?
Thank you so much. And I have seen him on TV for years. And he's very famous for wearing his colorful clothing that looks very flamboyant, and his hair and everything else. He was a very, I don't know how to say it,
He
charismatic person.
reminded me of the Latino Liberace.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. So what I want to talk about now quickly is just a little bit of a tease. It's not a tease, but it's just information to couple with what Mick just said in reference to the numbers, wearing a mask. It's simple. It's easy. I don't know anything to say besides you have nothing to complain about. These healthcare workers, I saw a video about how long it takes for them to put on all of the masks and everything else that they do on a daily basis. So anyone complaining about having to put on a mask, it's pretty ridiculous. In addition to that, I do want to say welcome to Laura. She will be on a little bit later for our segment. So the thing is that the numbers in Florida, in Ohio, as well as California are absolutely staggering with how many new cases. Actually, unfortunately for us, I won't get into the details now. I'll talk about it later during my actual 5-minute segment, but I have a lot of data and a lot of information. And the fact is that if you don't have to leave your house, stay at home at this point. That's the way that I feel. If you have to leave your house, put on a mask, put on some, actually, to be honest with you, I don't have them here, but put on some protective eyewear, even if it's just a pair of glasses. They don't have to be Carreras like these, but I mean, you can have any kind of, you could have sunglasses on, you could have a pair of work goggles like people wear when you standing work. You can have a face shield also as well, but also keep in mind to not be taken advantage of, because some places are charging ridiculous amounts for PPE, and that's unacceptable. So that's my little tease. I'll get into more details later about that in my segment later in the show. And now over to you, Rajee, to discuss your basic tease about the trans update later on this evening.
Well, last week we got a little heavy, a lot heavy, because I addressed the whole issue of transgender women of color being murdered throughout this country. And, I'm going to definitely give an update on what I found out. There's also other trans women that are dead in the last 2 weeks, 5 more, so a total of 6. Some of them, the deaths are unknown, like the cause of death. But so I'll give an update on that. And, I think that this is a conversation that we need to continue to have because it is a problem that has been going on for such a very, very long time. So I'm going to definitely address more of that today. I hope Mickey has some good music for us.
I do. Specifically, what I want to talk about is a website that I really love. It's probably my favorite place to go to on the internet to learn about new music. But I don't want to give too much of it away because obviously that's going to be the point of my segment. But yeah, it's put together by a bunch of writers who I really admire. And they cover singles literally from all across the world. But I'm really, really excited to give them a shout out. But that's kind of a bit of my teaser right now because I don't want to give too much away. So I'm going to throw it back to Joseph and we can get started.
All right. Thank you so much, Mick. And thank you so much, Rajee. It's always a pleasure. And also it's a pleasure for you to watch us at home. So if you want to get in contact with me, considering I continually forget to give out my email address, I feel that it's necessary that I do. That's Joseph at mysouthernexposure.site. It's Joseph at mysouthernexposure.site. And if you are an advertiser, a small business, let's say you work from home safely in your home and you have some kind of a product or service that you can safely earn money, if it's in Ohio or Florida or California, please, you can contact us. We have very inexpensive rates. You could have Mick read your copy, myself, or Rajee, or maybe a couple of other individuals. It just depends on what you want to have done, but we want to try to help focus on people or businesses that are local and not giant corporations, to try to make it easier for people to make money safely while we are at home and be able to help people get what they need, when they need, and how they need it. So while I'm talking about that, I do have to tell you about WeGo LLC. It is a local option here that is owned in Fort Lauderdale that services the Wilton Manors area, Middle River Terrace, and Oakland Park areas as well. If you pre-plan your transportation needs, they can make your life a lot easier. If you need a ride to or from work, or if you want to go grocery shopping, they can do it for you instead. They even offer laundry services as well. No touch, minimal contact options are available. Drivers and delivery people will all be wearing face masks and shields and sanitizing after each and every customer if you do have to go to work. Instead of you getting in a different car every day and not knowing who the person is, you can contact WeGoLLC.app to learn more. Please plan your trip 24 hours in advance because services are subject to availability. If you do want to have your house cleaned, or let's say a vacation rental or your pool, you can contact Trustworthy Cleaners. They service the Wilton Manors, Middle River Terrace area, and also Fort Lauderdale. They're definitely the good answer for you. They're inexpensive. They use local workers from vacation rentals and pools and boats and houses. They've been doing this for over 10 years. They do have some new procedures and protective measures, but they are open and ready to serve you. Now, with no contact options to keep you and their employees safe, you can email them directly at trustworthycleaners33304@gmail.com. They have excellent references, local workers. You can help support a local business today by reaching out to them at trustworthycleaners33304@gmail.com. I got to tell you, and this actually is kind of a little bit of a segue into our topic a little bit later today, every Wednesday at noon, make sure to tune into Big Daddy's Stock Tips from the Hood, as Big Daddy Marty Allen shares his unique insights on the stock market, hot stock tips, trends, when to buy and when to sell, and that beautiful voice and that wonderful personality. You can learn how you too can be a day trader. The BST every Wednesday from noon to 12:30 on the Rogue Radio Network. Check it out. That's the rogueradionetwork.com. Last but not least, I actually did my hair today. I put it up, and I got to talk about Kat Rio. She's a good friend also, but she provides a custom haircut that will suit your individual personality, just like my saucy little personality. You'll never have to worry about looking like anyone else ever again. You can stand out from all the rest if you contact her. She's available 7 days a week, and you can make your life a lot easier and stay safer at home. In addition to that, she will be working at a local location called Cabaret. It's on Oakland Park. She starts on Wednesday the 15th. Her hours are from 12 to 6. That's Cabaret. It's a little local hair salon shop. So you can check them out. I don't really know them very well, but I do know Kat. So I want to try to help drive some business towards her. And that is pretty much it for all of that stuff. What I want to do now is discuss stock markets. This is going to be a crash course, and then we'll have an expert at some point. So do either of you know anything about stock market or day trading? Rajee, I want to go to you first, and then Mick, you can chime in.
Actually, to be honest, it's like Chinese to me. I can't speak Chinese. I don't really know much about it. I have like a general concept, but I really don't. So this is an opportunity for me to learn too. And I'm sure some of our viewers will be learning along with me.
Yeah, I'm sort of with Rajee in the sense that, like, I have a very general knowledge of how it works and why it is the way that it is, but I just think that it's a little bit needlessly convoluted, and if anything, it just feels like a rich person's game, because anytime that I've ever worked at a job, no matter what, whether the stock market is doing good or bad, I've never seen a pay change because of that. Like, my job has never been like whenever I was working at Starbucks too, that's a major corporation. Anytime that I've ever worked there, if the stock market was doing well, it's not like I got a raise, and vice versa. If the stock market was doing bad, I never had a pay cut. So it's just one of those things that I'm like, I don't think it really affects the common person all that much. And that's also just why I think it's kind of, I don't want to say that it's useless, but just for the fact that it doesn't really affect your day-to-day life. And even when like the stock market is quote unquote doing well, that doesn't mean that everyone else is doing well. I just think that it's a bit, as I said, it's a bit needlessly convoluted, and I don't really think that it represents how the economy is doing. It represents how the very rich people in our economy are doing, but not really so much how your standard service worker or teacher or nurse is doing, because I don't think, I would probably say that most people probably don't have that much, if anything, in the stock market. But that, again, I don't know all that much about it, but that's also because I just don't think that it's very helpful for me. So.
That makes sense, Mick, and I appreciate your perspective on that. But the important thing to understand, I think, is that the stock market is an option for a lot of people. You don't have to be rich to be part of it any longer. Everything is changing and everything is adapting because of COVID. Now they're offering percentage of stocks. Instead of you having to invest a lot of money, you can get a little piece of this and a little piece of that and a little piece of that. You probably started to see some advertising about that. So in reference to the overcomplexness of it, I learned how to trade stock on pieces of paper when I went not to band camp, we'll just say when I went to camp, when I did, some things that were not so smart a long time ago. So let's just say I met a couple of the Enron people in Texas at the same facility. But anyway, so I'm just going to give you a little graphic right here. This is a little chart that shows from March until now. And I couldn't get the actual image to transfer over, so that's the reason why I'm showing it to you. But the fact of the matter is that the stock market tanked, beyond tanked. It went 30% below zero in March when this whole mess started. Now it started to get back up, and now it's going to tank again. And it ties closely in reference to COVID and everything else. And that's the reason why I wanted to bring up the topic today, because there's a lot of people who are not physically capable and they don't want to take a risk to actually go out to work at Starbucks or Big Lots or wherever you want to work. I think it could be a good option, and having Marty Allen do stock tips from the hood from a completely different perspective, he is going to be able to help show us how you can make money when it goes up, how you can make money when it goes down, and you can do it day by day. These same trends that are month to month, they actually reoccur on a daily basis in the same pattern. The creepy part about that, however, is that they kind of mirror what the COVID is doing also as well. It's almost the same thing. So that's the correlation, and that's the reason why I brought that up, is that I don't think personally that we'll ever make progress in our society as human beings unless we put people before profit, just like you think, Mick, just like you think, Rajee, and a lot of other people. So I think the best thing for us to try to do is figure out a new way about how to make money safely, how we can actually impact things. And believe it or not, Mick, the people who work over at Starbucks or wherever, they have the most power. They can cripple any business if they want to, if they feel truly that they're not being represented and that they deserve some kind of a raise. So that's my little everything in a nutshell. But I didn't want to discount what you said at all. But I think that there might be some room to learn things that we might not have necessarily been using before, that it's possible that we could maybe focus on LGBTQ companies. That would be helpful, I believe. Or we could focus on companies that support LGBTQ, or we can isolate or what's the word where you stop the company? I can't remember the boycott. Yes, if we could boycott the companies that are supporting anti-gay legislation. So that's where I think where we can utilize those pieces. And if we learn where the money goes, you follow where the money goes. Once we know where the money is coming from and where it's going, then we can be more active and do our civic duty and do things in a different way. That's the reason why I brought up the topic. So that's a lot to discuss. And I'm going to toss it back over to Rajee because I saw a whole bunch of little dings in her head going off as I was talking.
No. Well, basically, you kind of confirmed for me. Okay, so when you think of the stock market as like, I guess the average middle to lower class as far as my finances are concerned, it's a little intimidating looking at it, like, looking at it and hearing the numbers and all of that. But I always got the impression that, it wasn't, if you wanted to play the game, you could play the game. Now, of course, if you're rich, you have more money to play with, okay? And, you'll be able to put more money in, so you would probably, when the stocks go up, benefit more than someone that doesn't have as much money to put in. I mean, that's just common sense. But I had a guy friend. We were seeing each other for a while, and this is when it really hit home for me. He wasn't rich. I mean, I would say he was like middle class, maybe upper middle class. And he asked me, he says, do you have any stocks? Have you invested in any stocks? And I told him no, and he's like, well, you really should. And he was telling me that he did. And that's when I thought, oh, okay, you don't have to be rich to play the game. There's different levels of it. And you can join in the game. It's just that what I do know is if you're not rich, you're not going to have a lot of money to play with. So, being rich probably gives you an advantage in that sense because you have more to put in the game. But no, I think it's just a matter of understanding how it works. And once that's done, I could probably put my foot in the pool of the stock market,
Mick?
Yeah. I agree with what you were saying before, Joseph, about how that I think that there just needs to be a different system in place in order to ensure that people are able to make ends meet and that profits aren't really worried about, just because one of the primary concerns at the start of the pandemic and what continues to be a primary concern for a lot of people during this pandemic is, oh, the stock market is going to tank. Oh, the stock market is going to tank. When the focus isn't, oh, people are going to lose their livelihoods. People are going to get sick. People are going to die. People are going to become disabled from the fact that there aren't resources in place to kind of protect people. I remember back at the start of all of this, the Federal Reserve threw, something like $1 trillion at the stock market, and it didn't do anything. So that's another reason why I kind of just am like, okay, yeah, the stock market does represent, I guess you, and maybe it's just because I'm just not qualified to speak on this because I just don't know that much about it. And that's probably also on the fault of our education systems, where it's like they want us to know about Pythagorean theorem. They want us to know about a Bunsen burner. They want us to know about how to diagram a sentence, but they've never taught us how to do our taxes. They never taught us how to do something in the stock market. They don't teach you about the health of your body as you get older, even the change from going into your teens to your 20s, like how your body is going to be different. You don't learn this type of stuff. Yeah. And so then when we have to talk about the stock market, you're kind of left giving yourself a Google refresher course on what it means and how it works. And I personally just think that there shouldn't be a focus on the stock market right now. The focus should be on individual families, individual people who are at risk of losing their homes, people who are at risk of losing their livelihoods, people who are at risk of getting sick. I mean, okay, yeah, you could argue that the stock market represents a lot of people's livelihoods and jobs, but if you just give that money directly to people instead of worrying about whether or not the company that employs them is making any money, you alleviate the problem right there. These companies have money to spare. They can cut costs from their executives, and I'm not saying that they can cut costs from their employees. I don't think that their employees should lose money, but I think that executives can cut down on money, and they can take pay cuts. And also the fact of the matter is that you've heard pundits and financial advisors talking for years about how none of us have any money saved up and none of us have done the proper precautions to prepare if we were to ever lose our jobs. But then you look at what just happened when the economy crashed back in March, and things like, what was it? I think it was J. Crew was filing for bankruptcy. I know literally almost every single person that I know has shopped at J. Crew in some way. And to think that a company that big didn't have any money saved up for this type of thing, or didn't have any money prepared, or they couldn't find any reserves to prevent themselves from going into bankruptcy, that's ridiculous, because it tells me, okay, I'm supposed to have all of this money saved up in the event that I potentially lose my job. I need to have rent saved up. But this company is going to file for bankruptcy. This multi-billion dollar company is going to file for bankruptcy, probably resulting in a lot of jobs being lost. And no one's going to them being like, why didn't J. Crew have an emergency fund? Why didn't J. Crew set aside 1 year of profits for their employees and for their company to stay afloat? So I think, I mean, again, I'm just rambling right now, but that's because this is what I understand about the economy, because they don't teach you about it, and it's super volatile. And even when the government throws money at the economy instead of at individual people, it doesn't do anything. So yeah, send out more stimulus packages, keep unemployment payment rates really, really high. That's what's going to keep things going, because that's how people are going to spend money. People aren't spending money at concerts. People aren't spending money going out shopping. People are spending money on their rent and their food right now.
I agree with you completely. I agree with you completely, actually, Mick. And the other thing, though, is that I think it's time for those of us who have not been taught how to do the things that, quote unquote, the people in power have been ingrained with. It's time for us to learn how to take control back, because we've given it to them day by day, step by step, every single corner, every single penny that we spend. So it's time for us to learn. And that's the reason why I think it's good to be able to learn something new that we might be able to make some money off of. Rajee, please go and talk, because I'm going to wait, because you're ready to explode. I saw your hand go up.
What I was going to say is it's almost like the system is designed for a person to fail, because like Mickey was pointing out the things that they don't talk about in school. I mean, what about the importance of credit and like how that works? I mean, they never, that's a topic that's not addressed in any point throughout school. High school would be a really good time to address it, especially because the first thing you get when you go to college is you got these credit card companies sending these young kids in college credit cards. And then, you know, they may not have intentions of defaulting, but, you know, it's human nature. You think you can handle it. Oh, I'll charge this, you know. It's almost like free money almost, you know. And then after the fact is when a lot of people realize, oh, crap, I ruined my credit, and how important credit is for so many things. Even nowadays, to even get a damn apartment, you know, a lot of the apartments and real estate companies, they run your credit. But they don't talk about that in school. That would be more important than, you know, a lot of the, listen, I would have preferred to learn about that than take a geometry class, okay? Anyway.
I agree. I completely agree with you. But I mean, the thing, and to reiterate what you're saying is I completely agree with you, Mick, and also you, Rajee. It's a matter of learning things that we haven't been trained on or had the opportunity to learn. So while we are at home, it's time for us to take control back because we've given it away. We were not given the same skill set. We were not given the same advantages. So I think it's an opportunity is all I'm saying. And to put things into perspective also, I mean, you don't have to spend a lot of money to make money in the stock market. So, but I'm not going to get into all those specifics because I don't want to spoil Marty's thing, but I do want to hit back. Yes, Mick?
Oh, I was going to say, if I can just add something with that. I think that the one of the issues here is that if playing the stock market was as lucrative and as easy as it was, as we're taught to say that it is, I think more of us, you would hear more about people who got rich through the stock market. And yes, you do hear about these people through Forbes or whatnot, being like, oh yeah, I just kind of like, you know, I dropped out of college and just kind of decided I was just going to learn how to play the stock market and do this and do that. And one thing that a lot of those people have in common is they have a fallback plan. Like if this doesn't work out, they come from a wealthy family, or they already have a degree, or they already have a stable job. So it's like, that's fine. But especially right now where like I'm very lucky to still have a job, but it's like my resources and my funds are finite, especially if I'm trying to save money right now to make sure in the event, God forbid, I lose my job. Investing in the stock market, that costs money. And why would you want, especially right now, to take a risk on something that you don't think that really might not pay off right now? I think that that's another question to have, where it's just like, yes, the stock market could make you rich, but is that a good enough risk to actually take that risk and put aside some money there that you thought, all right, maybe I'll take a chance with this, and then God forbid you lose a lot of money in the stock market? That's another thing. It's like, that's basically telling people to put their livelihoods on the odds of a game that you don't have really any say in. You can just say that you've analyzed the trends and you know what's going on, but like, people are fickle. So I think that that's another thing to think about, where it's like,
to me, it's like gambling. It's like gambling in a way. Yeah.
Well, it is.
It definitely is. It definitely is like gambling, but it really is truly simple, and it's not a topic that any of us know completely. So that's the only reason why I brought it up. I thought it would be a topic, but for the same token, to put things into perspective for you both, is when people tell you about what you're supposed to have at home, how much money you're supposed to have, and everything else. If companies are going bankrupt, they have no reason to tell you that you are not doing good enough. It makes me sick to my stomach. You know what the national debt is today for the United States government? $24,974,171,868. So this is my point. Once the United States government has their extra 3 months set aside to cover stuff, then I'll start worrying about mine. That's my perspective. So, I mean, basically, there's 3 fingers right here. 2 are not necessary. So you can figure that part out. So that's my perspective. If anyone doesn't like it, you don't have to listen. Just click off. Anyway, so let's keep moving forward. I do want to actually tie this in. And actually, you talked about a housing thing, and so did Rajee. And this couples with it also as well, because everything is focused around COVID. So the stock market stuff is done. I want to focus now on the housing market. Believe it or not, people are buying houses, but not as much as they used to. People have gotten their mortgages pushed off to the side for up to 2 or 3 years. They're still charging rent to people. People are trying to force people out of their homes and force people out of rental units and everything else. So the housing market does affect us. Whether we like it or not, it does. And it does come with the stock market. We need to talk about this so that other people can put in the perspectives also as well. And it's important to understand that it is changing. the housing market is changing drastically. So now there are brand new ways to get more funding. There's different programs that are available to keep people in their homes. There's also a new way for realtors to make money that they've been working on for a long time. They used to do virtual tours where it's a 360-degree turnaround and you can go through a house and look at it and everything else like that. So people are actually buying houses, believe it or not, without ever actually going to them. Some people are doing that have that as an option. So I do want to talk about the ups and downs of the housing market because it's interesting to see how it's going to play out. And the average house cost in the United States as of June is $342,000. That's the average cost for a house. So it's up 5.1% from a year ago. I don't know if Mickey froze or not, or if he's sticking the tongue out on purpose because it's disgusting to see or hear. But it's one of those things where the COVID is definitely having an impact on the housing market in multiple ways. Number one, there's no inventory. Number two, people who own houses that collected free money from the government are trying to kick people out, which is completely wrong. So down here in Florida, we have a program. Clearly in Los Angeles, or I should say California, you guys have a program as well. People need to be aware of what those resources are, where they need to go, how they can get help. So if they have a landlord who already got free money, they already own the property free and clear, and they put off their mortgage, they don't need to be rushing someone off out onto the street during during this virus. So it couples with that. That's the reason why I wanted to bring it up. Rajee, what do you got to say?
Wow. Well, housing is so important. And one of the things that I love about Mickey when he covers, different topics is he brings up the whole homeless situation. And so, I think for all of us, no matter who you are, you're thinking about housing on some level. Me personally, I just, at this point, buying a house isn't even on my radar. It's like something that just is so far fetched for me, personally. So I do from time to time, I'll follow the market and, you hear, oh, it's a seller's market. Oh, it's a buyer's market. And, for my mom who owns, the home that I grew up in Philadelphia, when she's ready to sell, I know she's going to make like way more than what her and my dad paid for the home. And, all the fixing up that they did. So I've been kind of keeping a little more, or I should say paying a little more attention because I know in the next few years, mom's probably going to want to sell. And I want to be able to be there. When I say be there, meaning support her. And, it's a big step because she's been there, for years. We're talking, I was 4 years old when we moved in the house. So I'm not going to tell you how many years that is, but honey, I'm a lady of a certain age, and my sister was just a baby. So it's going to be a big step for her. But so I think it is important to be aware in that sense for me. That's why. But personally, I probably wouldn't even see buying a house at this point for me. And Susie Orman, who's a great financial guru, I was watching her about a year or two ago, and she said at one time the whole thing was get a house, own a house. But she was saying that the world has changed and that ownership of a home isn't for everyone. Sometimes it is better to rent, but I think it boils down to an individual thing. And so, Mickey, are you buying any mansions anytime soon? And if you are, I hope you have a cottage in the back from me.
Here's the thing. If I ever owned a home that big, I definitely would want to make sure that there was at least something else, like even if it's a pet, like sharing in that space with me. Because I think why I haven't thought all that much about housing in terms of just like buying a house is because I don't really want to worry about the upkeep of a full house. Like my apartment that I have with my roommate right now, it's 2 bedrooms. We have our dining room, which is what I'm in right now, which is connected to our living room, and we have a little separate kitchen, and we have a tiny bathroom. And that, for just the 2 of us, is just about enough. Like sometimes, especially right now, because we're here all the time, it can feel a little crowded, but really for the most part, it's okay. This is enough room for me. Like I can work out at home, I can do my work from home, I can, if I want to have a few people over, I can definitely have people over. And if I really wanted to like go wild and have like 20 people over, I probably could. I'd have to move some things around. But I think that for a lot of people my age, the idea of having a home not only is unrealistic because, for one thing, like Joseph said, if it's $300,000 to own a home, I don't have that. I don't want to take out a loan to do that right now. I don't have the energy to do that. It's also just that's a lot of space that, what are you going to do with it? If you have, say for example, you're one person and you own a house, and that house has it has 3 bedrooms in it, 2 bathrooms, a living room, a dining room, a family room, a laundry room, a kitchen, and a front and a backyard. You have to fill all of that space. You have to maintain it. You have to keep it clean. You have to find things to do with it. And if it's just you living in the house, even if it's you and one other person, what are you doing with that second or third bedroom? What are you doing with all of that extra space? And it just also kind of goes into how, I mean, I know that I bring this up quite a bit, but it's because it is very pressing, but you have all of this space, and then we're told that like homeless people have nowhere to go. And it's like, it's because, I mean, really, like, and this isn't for the average homeowner necessarily, but you have people who have these massive mansions that are like an acre huge, like large, and it's like one person lives there. And then it's like, what is all of this space used for? What is all that power going towards? What, like, God, what's your air conditioning bill? Like, how much power are you wasting? I personally would, if it was just me in this apartment, I'm not saying that I want my roommate to move out by any means. It's more so just like if it was just me in here, this would be perfect for me, because I would I would just make her room like an office, maybe a workout space, and then I would have all the room that I could ever possibly need. I don't think people need to have a full house. If you have a family, like the house that I grew up in was perfectly sized, I think, for us. But if it's just you and one other person, or just you and your dog, like, you don't need a lot of space. And I think people kind of go into that thing like, oh, I'm going to get a home, I'm going to get this home, and it's going to be great, and it's going to be everything. And then you have rooms in the house that you don't use. You took out a mortgage that is something that like you can't afford. And then that just also goes into the fact that I think that this is an entirely separate aside and something that we could get to at another time, but I think that lawns are such a waste of resources. Like, when was the last time you ever had a party out on your front lawn? Like, yes, I'm not including your front porch. I'm including your front lawn that you mow all the time. You have those lovely flower beds. You might have a tree in front of it, but like, what does it do? It's I guess maybe like to set the stage of your house, but like, what's your front yard for? Like, really think about that. Like, what are you using your front yard for? You could move your house forward that 25, 50 feet that it is from the curb, and you'd have a much larger backyard, for one thing. So you could have a garden back there. You could let your dogs out back there. That could be where I have my guest house for Rajee. Like, there's so much more that you could do with, and Joseph too as well, but she asked first, Joseph. So
That's right.
get in line. But like, that's just what I'm saying. It's like, I think that there's this whole idea that we have to have a house and it has to be a certain way, and you don't think about just the ways in which that it can be wasteful, that it could just be kind of useless for yourself. Like, again, like I'm saying, just for example, the yard. How often are you using your front yard? You're probably going to the park more than you're using your own front yard for activities. I've been going for a while. I'm going to toss it back to Joseph. Or
Well,
Rajee,
what
if you have
I
anything to
wanted
say.
to interject real quick. You know what? It's really interesting how it's all relative to where you live in the world. Because you know what? My mom loves HGTV.
Yeah.
And she's always watching like the international house hunters. What I've noticed is a lot of countries are very space conscious, and a lot of the homes are a lot smaller than we Americans live in. A lot smaller. So they kind of like, go in the direction of what Mickey said. They do think about that stuff a lot more. And I don't know, I guess we Americans tend to want big, because I have a friend that is from London, and he came over to visit, and he was in New York, and he said, you know what, I went out, and he says, you all get these humongous portions. He says, we do a lot smaller portions in Europe. And I was like, honey, sometimes the plate comes and I'm thinking, this is it, I want more. But yeah, so I think it's all relative to where you're living in the world, and the way people look at space and that sort of thing. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in.
Rajee, I have a quick question for you because I can't remember where were you from again? What city and state?
I'm from Philadelphia.
Well, your mom's place, Philadelphia.
Uh-huh.
Okay, because I was trying to see if I could find it, and I'm not. Oh, Philadelphia, Camden. Okay, so Philadelphia, Camden is what it says. Wilmington, PA. It says that it's 327.5. It's down 14.6% currently. Just a sidebar note. But also, with the same token, I agree with you, Mick. Just like for myself and my partner and his mother, the three of us live in a 2-bedroom house, but we have a really big backyard, and we garden, and it's nice, and a little tiny pool, and then we do have about 25 feet to the front of the house for the yard, but that's like part of a driveway that goes straight to the street. But by the same token, you can use it, but the laws are different in each municipality where you live. They just recently passed the law here in Fort Lauderdale where you are allowed to start or use your front yard for gardening. Before, that was not permitted. So it's a step in the right direction. I completely agree with you. There's a lot of people, you have one person in a 5,000 square foot house with 8 bedrooms. I get that. I mean, that's just doesn't make sense to me. And then you have people with pools and no one uses them. So it just is what it is. But there's a lot of us out there who are living within a better footprint than others. We recycle our water, our rainwater also as well, so that we can water our plants instead of using our well water. And then we give fruit to our neighbors from our mango tree and from our avocado tree and whatnot. So, there you can also just like leave it sitting out in the front of your yard and people will pick it up also as well. So I completely agree with you. We're on the same page. It's just one of those things where I do like when I pull into the driveway that I'm not so close to the street. I like having that little bit of a space. Like if something happens, my lights can turn on. If someone does come to your front door, and at least you have a little bit of a warning before the person can or could break in, and that the car is not like sitting on the street. So from that regard, I understand that. And then, it is one of those things where it's good to be conscious about how much space you're taking up, because for a lot of people, they don't have space at all. They live in a little efficiency or they live at a property that's neglected. And you're absolutely correct. Or they have a slumlord where they get taken advantage of, or they get threatened to get kicked out, all of those kind of things. But just like working on my ceiling that fell in, it does take a lot of work. It's not easy. But by the same token, it's during this time right now, it calms me down having something to be able to do. Being able to go into the backyard and having 2 dogs, I open up the back door and they run and they play and they have fun and it's fenced in. So, and we do, I mean, before this whole mess started, we used to have people over more regularly, but that's not an option now. So some people, if they do have a little yard, then they do utilize it. But that's basically that in a nutshell. I want to quickly talk about a couple of businesses that are local here, and then we can get into the segment section of the show. And I see the beautiful Laura. Looks like she's about ready. We'll see you in a second.
I'm hungry too.
I know. I want to see what she's going to make. But I got to tell you about a couple of businesses that mean a lot to me. And then we can get into the nitty gritty with the COVID and all of our segments. So WeGo LLC is a local owned company that operates here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, that also services the Wilton Manors area, Middle River Terrace, and Oakland area as well. If you pre-plan your trip with them, I need to rewrite that copy. Try to say pre-planned like 3 times quick. It's not very easy to do, but you know, whatever. You can make your life easier if you pre-plan your trip during these stress-filled times. If you need a ride to or from work, they can help you. If you need your grocery shopping done, they can do it for you so that you can stay at home safely. Even your banking, they go ahead and they do that for you as well. Instead of you having to go out to the ATM, they will go ahead and pick up the cash for you. They even offer laundry services. No contact options make things safer for you and also safer for them. Drivers and delivery people will be wearing face masks and shields. In addition, after each and every passenger in the car, they'll be sanitizing as well. Visit www.wegolllc.app to learn more. Plan your trip 24 hours in advance because services are subject to availability. Don't forget, check them out, www.wegolllc.app. Contact them today. You will definitely not regret it. Just like I did earlier, before we started the show, I went to La Madame Supermarket. I told Rajee about it. Maybe she'll give you a little perspective at some point in time if she does go there. I like going there because there's probably only 2 or 3 people in there at a time, as opposed to going to the big chain grocery stores. They're the perfect supermarket if you live in the area of Middle River Terrace, Fort Lauderdale. My partner and I shop there regularly, almost daily, to get what we need to make our healthy juice extractions. We have a juice extractor, so we get ginger, we get our turmeric, cucumbers, pretty much everything or anything that you need. They have a lot of fresh produce there. Their address is 1548 Northeast 4th Avenue in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Their phone number is 954-314-7489. You should check them out for yourself, though. You don't have to take my word, but if you do live in the area, I suggest that you go there. Instead of going to a big store, you'll be helping support a small, locally owned business that has been in the neighborhood for over 40 years. If you are looking to have some cleaning done, check out Trustworthy Cleaners. They work here in Wilton Manors, Middle River Terrace area as well. They definitely know how to clean houses, vacation rentals, pools, boats, and cars. They've been doing it for over 10 years. They have some new procedures, however. They have to protect themselves, and they also want to make certain that you're okay as well, but they are open to serve you. Now, with no contact options to keep you and their employees safe, you can email them directly, trustworthycleaners33304@gmail.com. And I have to do one more thing for Marty. Every Wednesday at noon, make sure to tune into the Big Daddy's Stock Tips from the Hood. You can learn how you can get into the stock market and possibly make some money. You don't have to be rich to be in the stock market. He's going to break it down, make it simple and easy and fun and entertaining, as Big Daddy Marty Allen shares his unique insights on the stock market with hot stock tip trends, when to buy, when to sell. You can learn how you too can be a day trader. The BST every Wednesday at noon on the Rogue Radio Network. You can check them out, rogueradionetwork.com. So I'm going to talk a little bit about COVID and then pass it over to my other people. Here in Florida, we unfortunately had a very grim day. We surpassed the largest daily total of new COVID cases in one day ever on the planet. 15,300 cases just today in Florida. It's a very sobering, scary thing to live in an area, and I'm sure Rajee can attest to that as well. where you live with 32 million people and approximately 2.5 million people have been tested. And out of those 2.5 million people, 282,688 have COVID. We've had over 4,000 deaths also as well. So it's frightening, it's scary. It makes me not want to leave the house at all, no matter what. Go on my own personal lockdown for like a month or something, to be honest with you. And I really don't know what to do besides to try to keep doing what I'm doing. I put a face mask on, I put my goggles on, I put my face shield. Rajee knows I look like Darth Vader. She's seen me before with everything on, and so have other people. And in Ohio, it's also the same. I'm looking at some data from Politico. I actually want to mention a couple of different things. I don't go to the Florida state government website. I go to Florida's community coronavirus dashboard. She's the lady who got fired because she wouldn't lie and make the numbers look less than they are. She started her own thing. I think it's great. She's giving the data that no one else is giving. And I think it's something that we should all support. I also agree with Politico as well. Politico.com is also doing a really good job giving the accurate numbers. The only state that is doing things properly with data is California, because California, COVID19.ca.gov, their numbers are the exact same as what Politico has on their website. So I'm going to skip over Ohio for a moment. So in California, you have a total of 5,275,695 tests that have been done. That's as of today at approximately 2 or 3 p.m. Politico definitely reiterated those are the numbers. Total deaths, 6,945. That's a 1.4% increase. Total cases, 312,344. California has a lot of good things that they're doing, but they are seeing a gigantic spike also as well. It's very scary. We're going to hear from Mick about what his perspective is on that also as well. In Ohio, there is a lot of misinformation, unnecessary data that makes things so complex that you have to be a scientist to figure it out, which I think is atrocious. You have to dig and dig and dig and dig and try to find information, and the numbers for Ohio are being under-recorded, and the information from Politico is correct. So total cases in Ohio are 64,214. Total tests have been done, 983 and 35. Total deaths, 3,036. The numbers are increasing, and they want to try to slow down testing. I think it's ludicrous. They are trying to push back the government, or I should say the economy, because it's more important in their perspective than people's lives, and it's disgusting. And a lot of people, I think, are not taking this seriously. And I think it's the only time that they will take it seriously is if they know someone personally who gets it and if they die. And at that point, it's too late. So that's just my perspective. So that's my COVID update. We all have to keep being vigilant, wear your face mask, wash your hands, try to stay away from people. And if you are going to be around somebody, make certain that you're at a safe distance and that you check in with them like I do on a regular basis. I check in with all the people that I know and anyone that I've had contact with. So that's my perspective with the COVID. Over to Rajee, if you have anything to add, or you can just go ahead right into your trans update.
Well, so this is where I'm conflicted with the testing. Okay, so what I heard is that when you go for a test, there's a 14-day turnaround. So, on the average. So this is where I have concerns. All right, so say I'm negative and I go for the test today. And they test me. And then, it's 14 days before I get the result. But tomorrow, I get exposed. All right? I go to the market and I get exposed and then I'm positive. Like that test that I get in 14 days it's not worth anything. So that's where I'm a little conflicted. I think the turnaround time has to either get better, and if not, we need a damn vaccine ASAP. Although I know there's so many people that are saying I'm not going to take the vaccine, but that's where I'm like, okay, how is this turnaround time really helping? Because a person can be negative today and tomorrow get exposed and be positive.
I agree with you completely, Rajee. I totally do. And actually, that's been my big thing that I've been talking about. I think that people should have easy access to be able to do it from your home privately and be able to take care of themselves if they want to, because they don't want to go into the hospital and whatnot. And it should be free, shouldn't cost anything. There's plenty of money in the coffers. They've already have tons of money that's going to things that are completely unimportant from my perspective. And I think that the testing has to be done like 2 or 3 times a week. Personally, that's what I think. So at the minimum, that's what it should be daily. If you are working at a school or a nursing home or a prison, I mean, seriously, it needs to be daily. Mick?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Out here in California right now, times to get a test at Dodger Stadium, which you drive up to, are currently at 6+ hours. I know that a friend of mine went the other day to go get a test, and he left because he said, I can't wait here for 4+ hours to get a test. That, well, when we originally went there, we waited 2 hours, which, I mean, I would rather not wait 2 hours, but hey, for the sake of public health, I was like, you know what? That's fine. And I think the 2 hours is like, if you're going to make people wait for it, I guess that's okay. However, I will point out that it is a bit classist that is allowed to happen, just because think about the people who are able to actually take a couple hours out of their day to go and get a COVID test in their car. That presumes that you have a car, that you have a couple hours out of your day to leave your job or to leave your family behind if you're the primary, if you're like the primary parent or whatever that happens to be. It's all really, really, really fucked up out here. And actually a few weeks ago, there was a period of time where testing was just suspended because the testing centers ran out of the supplies that they needed for the tests, which makes me think, okay, you guys knew that the shortage was going to come into play. You guys knew that you were going to run out of supplies, and you, instead of thinking, okay, we're going to switch over to another vendor right now before we run out of things, or at least plan to have that in place, they shut things down for a few days. So no one was getting tested, no one was able to get anything. And I also agree with what Rajee is saying, where it's like, all right, you go and get a test, and if you don't get your results back, for some people are saying now it's like 4 to 7 days you're not getting your results back. And then well, you still have to go out and get your groceries, you still have to go out maybe, and if you have to go to your job, if you're a service worker, and you might get exposed, and then you get your results back and it says, oh, you're okay, you're fine. And then it turns out you're not, because you've already been outside, you've already been out doing stuff. Yeah, it basically comes down to what Joseph was saying. The testing needs to be, at the very, very least, a weekly thing that everyone has access to. I, for example, went to the hospital the other day because I had to get, this was something completely separate, but I had to go there, and I asked them, hey, I don't have a car. I know that you guys have a drive-in testing center, and I understand why it's drive-in. It's to keep people distant. That's understandable. What are you guys doing for people like myself who don't have a car? Like, I'm lucky enough to have a roommate who's able to drive us to these tests. If I didn't have a roommate who wasn't able to drive me anywhere, I don't know how I would get a test, because it's like, okay, yeah, I could take the bus to go and get a test in another part of the city. And I'm not dragging the LA Metro or anything. They're obviously doing whatever they can to keep their facilities clean, and I don't want to drag public transportation for that. But it's like, when I'm on the bus, that's exposure right there. So it's like, I go and get my test, and then I get back on the bus where I could possibly contract it again. It's all very, very, very fucked up. And it should be There should be testing centers in every single neighborhood. You should be able to walk up to them. This shouldn't be a chore for the city to have to do. It should be very, very easy to do.
Rajee, over to you, because it looks like Laura is ready to do her cooking segment, but I don't know if she's ready or not. Her eyes got really big. Do you want to do your trans update first? Because she's after Mick, or I think she's after Mick. So
okay, so you want me to
Rajee?
go ahead and I could do a quick update? Because I'm
Yes.
hungry. I'm hungry and I can't wait
I know,
to see what's on the menu. But anyway, so last week I spoke about the murder of Bree Black. And actually this week I did something to honor her life. I have a friend that lives not too far from where she was murdered. And we actually drove over to the spot where it happened in front of her apartment as a way of like paying honor and tribute to her life. And so I did that this week, and I just felt compelled to do it. And so I just followed my spirit, and I went ahead and I did that to honor her life. But I also found out that there's been other deaths of transgender women of color, 5 more, so for a total of 6. And I'm just going to read their names. So, of course, Bree Black, and then there's Mercy Mack, Andrea McCarthy. She's out of Texas. They weren't all here in South Florida. There's Rayla Stone. I don't know where she's out of, but anyway, Shockey Peters, who is out of Dallas, and Tatiana Hall. So some of these are still being investigated, but it's just ironic that, like in a matter of 2 weeks, 6 transgender women of color have died. So I don't know. I think this is a topic that I'm just going to continue talking about, and also monitoring and staying aware of, because of course I am a multiracial transgender woman of color, so it's something that affects me directly, but also because of me being an activist for the community, I just feel that it's something that we have to continue to highlight until the murders stop. So that's basically my update. I don't know if Joseph, you're the research guy. I don't know if you did any research, but
well, actually. Actually, I mean, I just want to be able to tell people where they need to go to try to help find the murderer. So it was a transgender woman, Bree Black, 27, was found with gunshot wounds Friday night. That was 7/3. So it was last Friday, just before the 4th of July. Broward Sheriff's Office homicide detectives reported that the shooting happened at 10:18 p.m. on the grounds of 244 Northwest 12th Street in Pompano Beach, Florida. If anyone has any information so we can get some kind of relief for the family and also hold the people responsible, I suggest that you contact Detective Lewis Bonhomme at 954-321-4377. That's 954-321-4377. If you wish to remain anonymous, you can contact Broward Crime Stoppers at 954-493-TIPS. That's 954-493-8477, or online at browardcrimestoppers.org. Over to you, Mick.
Thanks for that, guys. And just to kind of segue from out of that, because I feel like I should also say something, just according to the Human Rights Campaign, as of in 2020 so far, we've already seen at least 21 transgender or gender nonconforming people fatally shot or killed by other violent means. So this is clearly something that continues to be a problem that we face, and it continues to be something that is underreported and under-investigated, because, I mean, genuinely, the authorities think that we don't care about it, when in actuality, we all very much care about it. These are fellow citizens of ours who are being attacked for simply being who they are. So anytime, if you're ever wondering what you can do for the greater good, you're literally just sitting there and you think, what can I do for the greater good? You can donate to a trans advocacy organization. You can donate directly to trans Black women. They're the ones who are not only at most risk for this type of violence, they're also the ones who are doing the most work to fight against this, because they experience it firsthand and they know how, unfortunately, how fucked up this world is. So that is my piece on what Rajee had said, and thank you for sharing that. And now going into my own segment, which is obviously a little bit more lighter because it is about music. I want to give a quick 5-minute shout out to my favorite music website out there. They've been operating for over a decade now. They are known as the Singles Jukebox. And I'll show you right here. This is how it's spelled. It's literally thesinglesjukebox.com. It's fantastic. And so the general aspect of the site is pretty straightforward. They review singles by any artist that happens to come out, whether it happens to be a really popular release by like your Ariana Grandes, your Justin Biebers, your Beyoncés, or anything that a user might submit and say, hey, this artist that you might not have heard about has a new single out. We'd love you to review it. And their whole tagline is that they are pop to 2 decimal points. So everyone who rates or reviews each individual song gives a rating between 1 and 10. So then all of those averages are factored together, and eventually it comes out with a score in like 5.13 or a 7.5, or if you're really fantastic and you just put out a really great single, you'll get like a 7 or an 8. But it's an average of what all of these writers have put together, and they all put their own little blurbs on each of these averages. So they explain why this song is amazing or why this song is not that good. And the really great thing about the site is they cover artists from around the world. So you'll get your, as I said before, your Ariana Grandes, your Beyoncés on there, but you'll also get artists like this Chilean pop singer that I really like, Javiera Mena. You'll get this French pop star that I like, Aya Nakamura. You'll get math rock groups out of Japan. You'll get dance artists out of South Africa. It's the one website where I go to where I feel like you can always find something new, and you'll always find something on there that you've never ever heard of. And I cannot recommend it enough. A lot of my favorite writers are on there. A lot of their writing is very informative. It's oftentimes very funny, so it's always really entertaining to see what's on there. And then if you also go down the site itself, it's very, very straightforward. It's literally just people talking about music. They have all of their top ranking singles for each year. So you can go through it and see, oh, what were the top 10 biggest songs of 2017? And I would say chances are most people who go in looking at those lists, you'll probably only know, I would say even for like a seasoned like music journalist like myself, you might only recognize about 25% of those songs that are listed there. The vast majority are oftentimes songs by people that you've never heard of, by acts that you've never ever considered before. And I just think I think that it's the best music website that's still out there. It's entirely put together by music journalists who very, very much care about the craft and who care about music. And I cannot recommend a better site if you are just in the mood for new music. Even if you're just looking up artists that you like, if you're like, oh, I'm kind of curious to know, let me think of an example of what Drake's singles are thought of by these writers. You can go in their search bar and see what they've rated One Dance or 2C Slide or Take Care. It's just, I think that it is easily one of the best music websites, if not the best music website out there. You'll always learn something new, and you'll always find good music, because even if you're scrolling through it and you see that there's like a lot of the past singles that have been submitted haven't gotten that great of a score, you'll always come across one that's got a 6 or a 7, and you're like, oh, I don't recognize this. What is this? And you'll listen to it and you'll find a brand new artist that you love. So again, that is for the Singles Jukebox. TheSinglesJukebox.com. It's all one word, all one site. I can't recommend it enough. That is my music update for today. And I believe I am now passing it back to Joseph, who is going to pass it over to our newest segment.
Well, that's very kind of you. It wasn't necessary. You could have just passed it over to Laura in beautiful Ohio with beautiful weather. And this is a new segment. So, Laura,
take it away. Take it away. Okay. Hey, everybody. I am Laura. You can call me La. Hi, Rajee. Nice to meet you.
Same here.
Mick, you certainly are a handsome young man. And Joseph, you're a great guy, because I've known you for a long time. You're handsome too. So I'm going to start things off. So Laura at mySouthernExposure.site. You can call me Laura on Southern Exposure. You can call me La if you want to, because that's my my handle, I guess, right? So you can hear me, right, Raj?
I can hear you
Okay,
loud
good.
and clear.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, today I am going to introduce a new segment on My Southern Exposure, and I am calling it Essential Pleasure, because we talk about so many heavy things on this show and important things, and believe me, I could yak on about everything you guys talked about tonight, but I'm here for a specific reason, and that is to tell you that I have taken food, healthy eating, not to an extreme, but I've taken it seriously for a really long time, even since my kids were younger. And a lot of things we're talking about are negative, but a big positive right now in our country, in the United States of America, is that we're fostering a foodie culture, and people are realizing that to be able to cook and to be able to cook well and in season is a pleasure. It's an essential pleasure. You got to eat, right? And it's a good pleasure for you. And it is a positive thing. And I say cooking equals liberation. So who doesn't want pleasure and liberation? Okay, I'm all about it.
Amen.
So I gotta tell you. So tonight, a couple real quick about me, because this is a fast recipe. Several years ago, I volunteered at the Culinary Vegetable Institute in Huron, Ohio. They're also known as the Chef's Garden, and they supply microgreens to top restaurants all across the country, New York City, San Francisco, everything. And we got a program put into the schools around America through the children's garden that we fostered there. And to teach them, like, carrots don't come in a plastic bag at the supermarket. They come from the ground. So to get kids to know. So right now we're in a great season to get seasonal things. Recipe I've got for you tonight, though, it's very easy. You can make it year round. And it is called cream cheese stuffed peppadews with everything but the bagel seasoning on them, okay? So this is what you do. You don't grow them in your garden. I guess you could, but you want to buy the ones already in the jar. And they come either mild or spicy. They're little teeny weeny little peppers. I take them out and put them on see how big they are? So I put them onto a paper towel, get them a little bit dried out. Then you take a little mini baggie. This is a good little trick. You could do this to put icing on cupcakes or stuffed celery with cream cheese, whatever. You kind of eyeball. I only have 2 peppers right now to stuff, so that's about enough cream cheese. You just slap it down to the corner of this baggie. Then you snip the little teeniest little hole. Ooh, that sounded nasty. Okay, you're going to snip the teeniest little teeny hole off the end of this baggie. And here's going to sound nasty too, and just stuff it in that hole. So you stuff it in that pepper and squeeze it, and it's going to just fill it up ever so nicely. And then I'm not going to say what that looks like either, because there we go. Oh my gosh, I can't get away from it. So anyway, you stuff these up. I'm going to say if you have a lot of other appetizers, you'd at least want 3 or 4 of these per person. But if you were going to use them as a side dish, you might want to make more. So I did 2 of them. They've got the cream cheese in here. Then I'm going to take my everything but the bagel seasoning, which is poppy seeds, sesame seeds, garlic salt, that kind of thing. And you sprinkle it on top of them. This is a 3-ingredient thing, guys. These little babies taste great. Right now, I serve them on a bed of mint from my garden, so it looks very Christmassy, but it is July, so Christmas in July, I'm not all wrong. And they're delicious, and you could put goat cheese, I'm saying, you could try it with goat cheese. You could do different kind of thing besides the bagel seasoning. You could use the hot or the mild pepper, so you can mix it up. Now, I have 30 seconds left, so let me tell you, you want to get in touch with me, here's my handle, Laura, da-da-da-da-da, because I want to hear from you. Next week, do you want wild blueberry crumble or do you want peach cobbler? I am getting 25 pounds of peaches later this week, so peach cobbler says I'm a winner, but you should vote at Laura at mysouthernexposure.site so you can say hello to me and vote. Otherwise, I'm going to make what I want, and I don't know, you might not like it. So,
well, the other thing too, though, is Laura. The other thing too is that you're going to have to email me that recipe so we can put it on the website so people can download it.
Okay, because this is so easy. I've made it a lot of times this summer because of entertaining on my deck with 1 or 2 people. We're very careful. It's been a huge hit. I've done it often. So, cheers, everybody. Love meeting everybody, and let's all be the best we can be. Love you.
Amen. Love you too.
I'm
Thank
eating
you.
now.
It looks really good. Oh my goodness gracious. I don't even know what to say.
My mouth is watering. My mouth is watering. I'm hungry, hungry, hungry. Well, you know, and I really appreciate this segment because I'm trying to eat healthier. I have to watch my sugar intake, and I'm really trying to eat a lot healthier. So this is perfect for me. And I'm looking forward to next week.
You know what, Rajee? This is keto if you follow that at all. Cream cheese, peppers, there's no bad carbs in there. So it's a really good one as far as that goes.
Do you have any suggestions, Laura, before I let you go? Do you have any suggestions for people that might have a small space on their patio? They might live in an apartment building that they can grow something that they can utilize?
I can grow raspberries. I gave a friend of mine some of my raspberries, and she's growing them in a pot, and she said she's feasting on them. Also, a lot of tomato plants, and you'd have to do a little research on which ones, but a lot of them grow even better when they're in a container. And of course, all kinds of herbs, for sure.
In reference to that, so then I know about how to do some of these things, but I'd like for you to tell some people about it. Like, let's say someone buys ginger, fresh ginger at the market, or turmeric. Is there a way for them to be able to grow that on their own? And how would they do that?
Yeah, and I believe you can root the ginger in some water, like you would maybe a sweet potato or something. And once you get those roots, you get the good soil, you get the organic fertilizer, because this is something you're going to eat. You don't want to put poison on it. And then next thing you know, you're making Chinese food and it tastes really good. Or you're putting it in your smoothie or doing whatever you do with it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious. Mick, what do you have a question for Laura? You're on mute.
Oh, I was going to say he went away. He goes, I've had enough of her. 28 years.
No, he's got you on. He put himself on mute. He probably there. He goes.
Yeah, I put myself on mute, so that was my bad. But I guess my question then for you, Laura, is when people are looking to buy food right now, what are some cheap but good recipes that you can put together? Because right now, a lot of us are struggling.
I'm going to share them on the show. I mean, I think this one is pretty inexpensive, although these peppadews can be a little pricey, but you get a lot of them in the jar. But right now, if you want to eat seasonally, I mean, zucchini, tomatoes, corn, all those things, and they're going to be on the supermarket flyer because they're going to be advertising them because they're cheaper and they have a lot of them. And that's the best thing to eat, is in season, because it's going to be better. It's going to be less expensive, fresher, all that kind of thing. But yeah, I think berries right now, blueberries. I made fried fish tonight and it was so good. And I don't know if that helps you out.
Ooh, that sounds
Okay.
delicious.
Well, now I do have a question. I don't want you to give everything away all at once on the first episode.
Oh, believe me, honey. Yeah, no, you're not going to get it all.
What
Not
would
for what
you?
you're paying me.
Oh, stop it! What would you? Oh my Lord! What
I
would
know,
you
stop it.
suggest? What would you suggest when someone does go out? What are maybe 4 things that they should look out for when they are shopping to grab as soon as they see them? Because there's a lot of things that are coming up missing on shelves in grocery stores and whatnot. Like 4
Well, you
things.
you want to have greens. And I find that frozen spinach can be a really great thing. But of course, I cook a lot. But I'll take half the box and let it thaw out. I just saw it in half with my Ginzu knife and put the ones back in the freezer and keep some out. You can put it in your eggs or in your omelet. If you make soup, you can put it in almost anything. Yeah, and I make creamed spinach, which I will share one week because it's like so fancy, but it's really so. And I'll make a frozen box and make that, and I'll get a little scoop, and my husband eats the whole rest of it. I mean, he's like, and it's like a lot of spinach, but you want to make sure you have greens, and frozen is good because it's usually picked at the peak of freshness. So they freeze it and it's really still good for you. Messing around with, cans and whatever. But you got to look for, you got to know, and this is a segment I will do one time, there's certain foods it doesn't matter if you don't buy them organic. There's other foods that you should buy organic. And there's very easy ways to clean your produce using just baking soda or just vinegar, which are both very inexpensive, and they're edible. So you're not putting poison onto poison to get rid of poison. You're cleaning them up, and then you can eat them and you feel safe about it. And certain things you probably should, I dunk everything in it, but berries, for example, they are highly pesticided. So you should either grow your own or you should get organic because they're difficult to wash. They kind of, raspberries get kind of messed up when you start watering them and, putting them in a soap to water off all the poison, to get that off. So yeah, those are things I would look for. Find a market that you like La Madame, I believe. Ding Ding, isn't that one of our sponsors? And, go there and, the greengrocer in there, the people that work there, they probably love food. They probably love to tell you about it and tell you what's really good and what's really looking good this week. And you make a friend at the supermarket.
No, that sounds great, Laura. Thank you so much. Mick or Rajee, do either of you have any more questions for Laura or no?
Oh, no, I just want to thank her for all this great information. I mean, I really enjoyed this segment, and I'm looking forward to next week.
Thank you. Cheers to you.
Yeah,
and
thank
to
you.
everybody. My Southern Exposure. Happy July 12th.
Thank you so much. And if you want to get a hold of Laura, you can get in contact with her, Laura at mysouthernexposure.site. You can also just go to the mysouthernexposure.site website and you scroll down where it says about us. You'll see my picture and profile, Rajee's picture and profile, Mick's picture and profile, and also Laura's picture and profile also as well. More will be added soon. Thank you very much for your time, Laura. I look forward to talking to you later and trying to renegotiate to pay you more.
Yes. Power to these people.
Yes.
All right, so I do want to kind of turn back onto a couple of things that both of you discussed, Rajee and also Mick, well, in reference to COVID stuff. One of the most important things, and I think there's definitely a connection that is frustrating, and both of you can pull this up also as well. The Black Lives Matter movement actually started in 2013, and also by the same token, it started with 3 Black women, Alicia Garza, Patrice Coolars, and Opal Tometi, 2 of whom identified as queer. I know that's a strange term to use, but that's what the straights usually say about us. So whatever. We can't fault them for being straight. It's not their fault. But we know, and we all love a straight. Anyways, so the fact of the matter is that Black Lives Matter and Black transgender women matter has always been at the core value of Black Lives Matter. My question for you, Rajee first, and Mick can chime in, is do you not think that it's interesting that there have been more attacks since the whole Black Lives Matter thing started back up again during the COVID, and now we have all of these attacks on trans people? Because I do think that there's a correlation between the two.
So, okay, the founders of Black Lives Matter, I actually didn't realize that two of them were identifying as queer. But the information you just gave, Joseph, I think it's wonderful that that was or is their intention to include transgender women of color. The problem is, although that's their intention, when you and this has been all along up until this point, when you're dealing with the masses of people of color in this country, many of them were not including us. Many of them were not considering our lives to matter. So I think that's where the disconnect was. Because, you know, the three of us can start an organization and say, this is what the organization is for, and then people sign on and people join in the movement. But if the mission statement isn't fully operating through the movement, there's going to be a disconnect. So I think that is what actually happened. Up until recently, I've seen some awareness and some acknowledgement with Black Lives Matter, including the Trans Lives Matter. But I mean, you know, when I say recently, within the last, I would say, few months or so, really seeing it. I mean, they may have already always included us, but like when I say seeing it, I mean like rallies where you're seeing the signs and people really, you know, stepping out and saying, yes, it's true. You know, we believe that all Black Lives Matter and also trans Black Lives Matter.
Agreed. Mick?
I guess like for my portion to chime in, I mean, to go back to your original question, Joseph, where you were asking that with all of the recent, let me try and phrase
attacks and murders.
Well, yeah, that there's a correlation between those attacks and the recent resurgence in the Black Lives Matter movement, you think? Well, yes, I think in certain ways, just because if I was doing a little bit of research of my own, and some of the statistics that we found, or that I found just looking at last year, in 2018, it says that, well, this was not last year, obviously, this was 2 years ago, but in 2018, at least 26 transgender people were fatally shot or killed by violent means. And that was just in 2018. And that's just the people that we know of. And obviously, as we have learned this year, that it's already close to approaching that number, and we're only just halfway through the year. So I think that there's definitely, and not necessarily that there's definitely like that it correlates to maybe a backlash, but I think that this also kind of plays into how people, when Obama was elected, people assumed, oh, well, there's just no more racism in this country. But you look at what happened, and if anything, it pissed a lot more people off that actively, well, not just actively racist people, but people who carry these subconscious biases that they're not thinking about. And that's where the Tea Party movement came from. That's why people, that's where the birther movement came from. And I definitely think that you can tie a lot of that back to just people just being being terrible and being reactionary. They see that not only Black people are having their voices heard, but Black trans people are having their voices heard. And the unfortunate fact of the matter is that there are a lot of shitty people out there who hate people because they are Black and because they're trans. So I definitely think that that plays into a lot of it. I think also being in the current state of things, just it being COVID, a lot of, especially Black trans women, but trans people in general tend to have less stable chances at receiving housing. It's harder for them to keep jobs just because employers are discriminatory, and workplaces are often very transphobic. So that also plays into the fact that just these, especially like trans women, are just placed in a lot more dangerous situations than the average person is. And especially right now, and like with COVID going on, the world is just that much more dangerous for everyone already, but it's extra threatening for them. So I think that that's definitely something to think about. And I think that that's also why, with what Rajee brought up, people are trying to bring that issue more to the forefront, where it's where when we're talking about the Black Lives Matter movement, that does include Black trans women. But yeah, I think that that is an important point to bring up. I'm going to throw it back to Rajee because she was saying something.
Well, yeah, and I just want to say, because listen, I'm going to call it out. I'm a trans woman of color, and the Black community has been very homophobic and transphobic. It can be a very homophobic and transphobic community. I'm calling it out. I'm calling it as it is. All of these 6 trans women, I can almost guarantee, were killed by someone of color. Okay, so we're talking about Black on Black attacks, because of the homophobic mentality and the transphobic mentality, and that's the root of it. I dare to say that that's the root of it. So what's happening is you have these people that are in the movement, that the directors or the leaders of the movement are saying, hey, y'all, we have to include our transgender women of color. And there's a lot of people that don't want that. They don't want to do it. They don't want it. They don't feel like they should have to include us. Thankfully, I'm seeing progression, and they are including us. But, keeping it real, the Black community has been homophobic and transphobic, since I can remember, okay? And that's not to exclude other communities. I mean, when you're talking about gender and being gender non-conforming, even gay men that are feminine, they get a bunch of crap. So, there's something about misogyny in this world, and when you're male and you are being perceived as negating your maleness, as opposed to what we are doing is we're embracing who we are, we're embracing our femininity. But so yeah, that's definitely an issue, and I think if anyone was going to call it out, it would have to be someone of color, because things are so sensitive now that, if Mickey said what I said or Joseph said what I said, it may have been perceived as racist. But listen, as a woman of color and, maneuvering in the community, I can say it. And I don't care if anyone gets mad that I called it out, because it's the truth. It's the reality of it.
Thank you so much, Rajee, for sharing that. And I love the fact of us following up with these stories and actually saying the names of the people who have been murdered. I think it's necessary that we continue with that on a regular basis. And I also feel like we need to do that with the people who are dying from COVID as well. There should be plaques somewhere in each city with the names of the people who have died. Those people need to be honored and remembered in a good way, in a positive way, just like what happened with 9/11. This is something much worse. It's going to take a lot longer before it's done, but that's my little perspective with that. I see a beautiful brown-haired young woman who has been working hard all day, who has her microphone off, but I do want to know what is going on. What's going on over there, Carlitta? What's the Midwest update?
We are doing. Hi, how are you?
Good, good. I see you are looking great, honey.
Thank you. It is absolutely crazy weather, and it's just beautiful out here, though. You guys sent some beautiful sunshine our way. It's gorgeous.
Well, that's a good thing. So, but Carlitta, tell us a little bit about how your week went and give us a little update from your perspective about anything that you feel is important, no matter what that topic is. This is your Carlitta's Corner. This is Carlitta's Corner.
Yes, so I've been telling everybody to help fight like anything that's out there, to try to eat a lot of raw garlic, lots of turmeric. I take about a tablespoon of turmeric every single day, and baking soda with water. It's amazing for your body. So it alkalines the body, and it actually helps fight and go into like cysts and tumors and different things like that too. So it actually helps cleanse the body, and it makes I'm sorry, the Starbucks truck is backing into my car at the moment, telling me. See it? I'll show you.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm like really big into eating healthy, drinking healthy, and especially with the COVID and anything else that's out there, putting a lot of raw garlic into the body, it does wonders. So I hope everybody's drinking their celery juice for anxiety. And also, hold on one second. I'm sorry. Francesca, close this. I'm so sorry. It's so loud. Oh my goodness.
Hey, shout out to Starbucks. We need to get an advertisement from them.
Look at them. Oh my goodness. But raw garlic does a body beautifully. It goes in and it can kill a lot of the bacteria that's inside of our body. So the different there's different like types of garlic that you could eat. And I love like really hot, spicy, like, you know, when you don't feel good, you want to eat spicy things. It makes your lungs sweat, and it keeps like you feeling better and younger. But I think garlic is one of my favorites, my best friend.
Besides me.
Yes.
I have a question. With the baking soda, what do? You put like 1 teaspoon in some water, or how much should I put in the water?
1 teaspoon of baking soda every morning, and then 1 teaspoon of baking soda with water in the evening before you go to bed, especially if you have like acid reflux. It really takes that away almost instantly. If you don't feel good, it like pH balances out, like alkalines the body, and it makes us, for years, it's been wonderful. Same thing like with Epsom salt. Yes,
now with the garlic, is it okay to buy it like minced in a jar, and then you can just throw it over your food and eat it that way?
No, because garlic minced and frozen garlic, it's got different properties. You want to use the freshest garlic that you could get. And remember, you could take a clove, put it in water for 3 days, and it should get a big root about that big within 3 days. Then put it right into the dirt, and it just starts growing.
Wow.
And the other thing is too, if you could use alpaca manure or like horse manure, that would help it too. So it it makes it grow a lot thicker, and it, you know, faster, especially the horse manure. It makes it grow really, really good.
Wow. So just the clove of garlic, I can chop up a clove and I can just put it over top of my food and eat it like that.
Do you like avocados?
I do love avocados.
Okay, every morning, try this too. Take a half of an avocado and chop up about 3 cloves of raw garlic in it. And then I know it sounds like a lot, but chop up 3 cloves and then squeeze a fresh lemon on it.
Oh,
Maybe a little bit of Himalayan salt or a little bit of fresh black ground pepper. It works beautiful.
oh, that sounds delicious. Okay.
I got a question for you too, because
Yes.
I know that you know a lot about reflexology and massage and everything else. You and I had a discussion before about walking on gravel, which might sound really absurd to other people. Can you let everyone know what the benefits are about walking on gravel and how it will help them?
So the feet, the hands, and the ears are all of our organs, and it's like a mirror to the human body. The ears are actually in Chinese medicine like an upside down fetus. The hand in the palm, they're all of your heart, your liver, your lungs, everything is inside. Yes. So like your thumb, the tip of your thumb, that is your head. The arch of that is your shoulders. It's your neck, then your shoulders, then your spine. On your feet, the arch of it is your spine. Right on the side of your big toe, like coming up off of your foot, that is your shoulder. And then your right by the thumb, like by the big toe also, that's actually, open it please. That's actually your big, like your head and like your ears are on the side of your big toe. That's really, really, it's an amazing treatment to get done.
So when you say that, I understand you're talking about the massage part, but what is important about just walking on gravel? You mentioned it to me before. It's a very simple thing to do. Take your shoes off, walk on gravel for how long, and what does that do?
At least 20 minutes each time that you could do it. And it clarifies, it cleans the system. So if you feel like when you're massaging your own foot, you could feel like little crunchies, and sometimes it stops. Like you could feel if somebody's got like a backache, or you could feel if somebody has something going on in their system. You could feel it in the bottom of their feet. So if you massage it and you could press it out, then it actually helps with clogged areas, or it just cleanses the body. So it's reflexology for free when you walk all over a gravel ground.
Okay.
That, you know what, you just perked me up when I heard something was free, and so did Mick. Mick liked that idea too.
Well, yeah, because a lot of people will charge, like, the prices are very expensive to get reflexology done. And some people can't afford it. So that's why I always do discounts, and to introduce people, open people's eyes to cleansing the body in other ways, and teaching people while they're getting treatments done. It's very important because the clients automatically think it costs something to get treatments done. You could do things to yourself, and cleaning the body is huge to all of us.
I think Mick has a question. Mick, you turn off your mic. Carlitta, can you hold on just 1 second? Mick?
Yes.
No. Well, my quick question was just with regards to the reflexology of your foot. What would you be targeting if you are doing that gravel treatment? Like, are you targeting like gut pain, head pain, joint pain? Like, what would you be targeting if you're doing that treatment, reflexology wise?
So if you want to focus on your stomach, I'll try to do this. You could go to this part of your body, and this is your stomach. This is your spine. This is your shoulder. This is your neck. So if you want to focus on, if you don't feel good, you could actually feel if somebody has something going on with them. You could feel the lump or the crunchies in the bottom of the feet.
You learn
Wow.
something new every day. The human, like, and I'm sort of familiar with reflexology, but I'm obviously not as well versed as you are in it. So it's always interesting to hear new stuff like that, especially the gravel thing, I had never really even thought of, but that's just because maybe it's just because I'm not that highly evolved, but anytime that anyone ever tries to give me a foot massage, I can't do it. Like I think I'm just too ticklish. Like I'm afraid of kicking someone in the face. I just every time I try to, anytime anyone ever tries to do it, I'm just like, you know what? It's better that I just do it myself.
But I will tell you, when you get it done, then the problem is they're petting you like a kitty. Tell them that you are here for treatment and that you want them to do a very firm treatment with you, because reflexology should actually hurt. It's a good hurt.
Okay. So tell them I like it rough.
Yes. Tell them you want it rough, and it, especially like if you have a bellyache or if you have something else like going on, you could feel better after one treatment if somebody knows what they're doing with the reflexology, but you could feel better after the first treatment getting it done. And then you could even take a piece of garlic raw and rub it on the bottom of your foot, and you could taste it within 30 seconds on your tongue.
That sounds bizarre. That sounds bizarre to me, but I believe you. So I don't want you to give everything away, Carlitta. So, but I think that it'll be nice for us to have you on a regular basis, just like Laura. And also by the same token, you can kind of maybe advise people things to do that they can do themselves instead of them having to go anywhere. With everything the way that things are going, it's a little bit scary. So if someone needs to figure out a way to cut the back of their hair and they're on their own, or how to safely take care of nose hairs or any type of thing like that, I think it would be nice to, so I was just doing it earlier. It took a while, and those scissors are super sharp. I'm like trying to get up in there. But I think it would be nice to be able for us to share with people while we are stuck at home kind of indefinitely, ways to be able to maintain your health and your beauty and or just hygiene just in general, because it's things that a lot of us are stressed about. And those of us who are lucky enough to have an apartment or a roof over our head or a house have it much better than a lot of other people out there, like Mick brings up, and myself, and also Rajee. I just want to thank you once again, Carlitta, for being on the show, and you look beautiful as always. I do have to take a last quick commercial break, and then we're going to close the show. So just give me one moment and everyone can chime in at the end. Wego LLC is a local company that operates here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They service Wilton Manors, Middle River Terrace, and Oakland Park areas as well. You can pre-plan your trip with them and make your life a lot easier during these stress-filled times if you need a ride to work, or if you need your grocery shopping done, or even your laundry taken care of. They will do that for you. No contact options make things safe for you and also the drivers or delivery people. They will be wearing face masks and shields. And in addition, after each passenger in the car, they will be sanitizing as well. That's www.wegollc.app. I do have to tell you about a cute little bakery shop. Last week, I got a cake, and unfortunately, Rajee did not get a slice like I intended. She left too quickly, from the Lovely Bake Shop. It was beautiful. It wasn't a cake for children. It was an adult kind of cake, meaning it's not cheap. It was nice. So if you live in the Middle River Terrace, Wilton Manors, Oakland Park, or Fort Lauderdale area, I personally suggest that you check them out. They have reasonable prices. You'd be helping a local business, and they have lots of options available for you. It's lovelybakeshop.com. That's www.lovelybakeshop.com. Their address is 603 Northeast 13th Street, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33304. Their phone number is 954-715-2050. Very helpful people, very sweet, very kind, and very clean inside of the location on 13th Avenue, just east of Northeast 4th Avenue. I just want to give them a quick shout out because they did a really good job and it looked beautiful, and Rajee can attest to that also as well. So this is the end of the show. We're pretty much done here. So, but I do want to give both of you, Mick and Rajee, some homework. I don't want to come up with the topic for next week. So I'm going to ask each of you to come up with a topic. You come up with the topic, Mick, and you come up with the topic, Rajee. And those will be our topics. And then maybe the following week, we will leave it up to people at home to suggest a topic. They can email me, Joseph, at mysouthernexposure.site. You can email Mick at mysouthernexposure.site, and also Rajee at mysouthernexposure.site. And don't forget about Laura at mysouthernexposure.site. So that's what my suggestion is for both of you. And if you don't have your homework turned in time, you're going to be in trouble. I want a good topic from each one of you. You don't have to overthink it. I've been coming up with these topics just off the cuff. So it's interesting, and we have a unique opportunity. And also by the same token, if you are interested and you have a local business in Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, Florida, over in Los Angeles, West Hollywood, or in Ohio, let's say Rocky River, somewhere like that, or let's say Lakewood or downtown Fort Lauderdale, I should say downtown Cleveland, don't forget to advertise, quote unquote. You can advertise with us. You can have me read some of your copy, Mick or Rajee, and we will be more than happy to help you get more business and make things safer for you and also your employees during these stressful times. You can go to their website, mysouthernexposure.site. You can click the little link. It says advertise at mysouthernexposure.site. So Rajee, Mick, what do you got to say?
Well, before closing out, I just want to clarify something. What we just spoke about in regards to Black trans lives mattering. And by no way was I trying to bash, the Black community or the community of color, but I was just trying to keep it real. And really, when you look at the world, because I talk all the time at different venues and I speak about being trans and being in like a gender non-conforming zone. And in the sense that, I was born male and I'm identifying as female. I always say that, when you go around the world, every culture has their quote unquote gender rules. The way a man is supposed to act in that culture, the way a woman is supposed to act in that culture, the role of the males in that culture, the role of the women in that culture. So if you're someone that kind of falls somewhere in the middle there, you are going to be subject oftentimes to discrimination. But when I opened the show, I said that I saw Mucho More this week on Netflix, and that is about a gender non-conforming human being that live their authentic truth and touch so many people around the world. So on that note, check that out. Believe me, it's definitely a must-see. And I'll go ahead and throw it over to Mickey, and I'll see you all next week.
See y'all, guys. Thanks for everyone who tuned in. Thanks to our returning correspondents, both new and old. It was great to have you guys on the show as well. And I guess just the thing to leave you guys with is as things continue on the way that they are, unfortunately, I know that this is going to continue to be a tough time for all of us. With regards to the information that I brought up before, if you are living in Los Angeles and you are being threatened with eviction, I highly recommend reaching out to the LA Tenants Union. I'm going to pull them up right here. It's also going to be right with the website that I talked about before. But if you look below right here, the LA Tenants Union, currently in Los Angeles, there is a moratorium on evictions, so you cannot be legally evicted at this time. Your landlord can threaten you, they can turn off your power, they can do all sorts of things to you, but they cannot kick you out of your house. And if your landlord is trying to kick you out of your house, I recommend reaching out to the LA Tenants Union. They have members who will come to your apartment and support you while this is going on. They will make sure that your landlord does not do anything illegal to you, that they don't threaten you with any physical harm. It just, it goes to show right now we are going to enter a new scary phase of the current crises that we are in, and people need to be aware of what's going on. And as I said, if you're living in Los Angeles, do not let your landlord evict you. Do not go down without a fight. They have no right to evict you at this moment. I'm going to pass it over to Joseph. Everyone stay safe.
Okay, Laura, I don't know if you're still on. You're on the other page. If you have anything to say, and then we'll finish with Carlitta, and then I just say my adieu at the end. Laura, are you still there? Maybe not. Carlitta, do you have anything to add?
I do. Along with what Mick had said, I'm actually getting evicted tomorrow morning. I am meeting with our landlords here, and due to the COVID-19, they still want $5,000 a month. They want it in full. They will not work a payment plan out with me. So believe it or not, I did somebody from the government and on Thursday, and she informed me to call 211 out here. And she had said that the phone number, when you dial it on your cell phone, 211, it gives you a huge amount of different things that you could get help with. If you're being evicted, if they're turning off your water, everything. I walked through a whole protocol. So my landlord's gonna be in for a shock when he tries walking in tomorrow morning and they're here with me. So I'm excited about that. But everybody just try to eat lots of garlic, keep your body nice and cleansed, and try to go on an alkaline diet, which is using the baking soda, and check it out. At least try it, at least for 1 week, and see how good you feel. And if it doesn't taste that great, but I'm promising you, you'll feel like a completely different person within 2 to 3 days. So thank you again for watching the show, and I look forward to many more evenings with all of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Carlitta. Laura, I can see you're there. Do you have anything to add to everyone?
Yes. Yeah, I was muted before, but Carlitta exposes or espouses, or whatever that word is, the alkaline diet. I suggest the alcohol diet, and it makes you feel better in like a half hour. I'm just kidding. Everything in moderation. You can do whatever you want as long as you are moderate about it. And take care of each other. Know your rights. I mean, you might be able to be in the stock market. You might be able to fight your landlord. You probably can. You're a smart person. Use your brain. Be kind to other people. Don't get rolled over by the non-humans who are apparently in charge right now. Use your own power, and I look forward to seeing everybody next week and exchanging all these ideas and having like intelligent discussion, and really trying to make the world a more informed and potentially better place. Love you.
Thank you so much, everybody. What I want to just mention to everyone who has important information, just forward that to me through the emails, and I can create a page so people pull up whatever important information that you do have, no matter what the topic is about. If it's a phone number or a resource or a little blurb, I can enable that on the website so that people will be able to post some of the things we discussed today. I presume that those things will also continue to grow, just like we are as well. And good evening, everybody. Have a good night. It's time for me to go to sleep. It's 9:05. All right. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Love you. Good night.
Bye.